Episode 5 of Futurama's latest revival on Hulu just released, and it had some major developments in character relationships that I expect made a lot of fans happy. The latest episode, titled Related to Items You Viewed, makes major strides in Fry and Leela's relationship, gives us a classic Bender insecurity storyline, and lampoons Amazon with its motherly corporate overlord. But did I like it? Did you like it? Stay tuned! And also, if you want more Futurama analysis outside of this breakdown, make sure to check out my podcast, Cartoons That Curse. Toonerific Tariq and I have covered the entire series, including the newest episodes, and we'll be covering the rest of the season weekly, episode by episode, so go check it out. Subscribe! You know, I was actually pretty surprised to see that the response to this episode seems to be the most positive of the season. There's a lot I like about this episode, but on first viewing, I cannot say that's what I expected the reaction to be. But, obviously, this one made some big moves, namely, moving Leela in with Fry and Bender, which sadly puts an end to Fry and Bender's ongoing cabbage fights.
Welcome to your new home.
Our new home.
I did speculate about this development after the trailers, so it was nice to be vindicated there. These are the kinds of status quo shifts that I'm really happy to see in this newest era. They're meaningful for the characters, but aren't necessarily going to change up the formula too drastically. I mean, the number of times we've been at Leela's apartment in the series is probably under 10, even though we did see it last week. But we even saw Leela crashing at Fry's place in the Comedy Central run in episodes like Free Will Hunting. It's just nice that this latest era of Futurama, they aren't even playing around with the will they won't they stuff anymore. Fry and Leela are a couple, they live together now, that's that. And they use this status quo shift to dive into probably our most classically Bender story so far this season, which I love to see. Bender ends up incredibly jealous.
Fry and me, we had everything. Cabbage fights, everything.
Bender's insecurities are just classic Futurama subject matter, and this is a perfect inciting incident to set off one of Bender's fits of jealousy. A good comparison is Jurassic Bark, where he gets wildly jealous when Fry starts preparing to bring Seymour back from fast fossilization, or The Beast with a Billion Backs when Fry moves to Yivo's universe. So yeah, this felt like the perfect combination of stories. A Fry and Leela development that's a long time coming, leading into a complete Bender drama queen storyline. I particularly love how at this point everybody is just kind of over Bender's drama. He's absolutely sobbing at the Planet Express roundtable, and exactly 0 people care about it.
You want to know why I'm crying? I'll tell you why.
Here we go.
The other major aspect of this episode is that once again Mom is running Planet Express out of business, but now in 3023 they've had MomCourt evolve into the future equivalent of Amazon. I mean, it's pretty clear, it's called Momazon, though it's definitely a bit of a departure from the writer's feelings on Amazon in the early 2000s.
I'm gonna take this and buy 5 shares of Amazon.com.
A risk taker. That's my boy.
Obviously, Amazon has blown up to outrageous levels since that episode was written. I think the name Momazon is maybe a tad too on the nose. We probably could have just used MomCorp or Mom's Friendly Robot Company, and the parallels to Amazon still would have been clear, but this development and evolution for the company makes a lot of sense. They've always been seen as the giant corporate counterpart to Planet Express.
Here's the big Enchirito. Mom's Friendly Delivery Company.
Previously, they were just seen as being on an entirely separate level to Planet Express. The only one who considered going toe-to-toe with them was that guy in Future Stock. Hermes kind of summed it up perfectly here.
We can't compete with Mom. Her company is big and evil. Ours is small and neutral.
But one thing we've seen in the 20 years since that episode was written is how large Amazon has become, and the ruthless tactics they use that ultimately drive smaller companies out of business, undercutting prices because their profits are so large elsewhere that they can afford to do it. And that's exactly what we see Mom doing in this story.
We're being driven out of business by Momazon. We can't compete with their free deliveries.
This episode also heavily features the moon, which is the location of Momazon's warehouse, and so we get glimpses of most of our known moon inhabitants. It's funny, I hadn't really thought about how there's still so little on the moon in the future. Pretty much just Luna Park, as seen in the series, has landed, and later meanwhile, this moon farmer's farm, seen in a few different episodes, and this town settlement called Aldrin's Gulch, obviously named after Buzz Aldrin. It was first seen in The Silence of the Clamps and revisited for the first time here in this latest episode. The town looks just about the same in this one, with a couple of changes to the building's signs. Classically, they were super attentive to detail here. Pretty much all of the moonfolk protesting Momazon at the town hall meeting could be seen as background characters back in Silence of the Clamps. Plus, we get nearly every moon character that's ever had a speaking role, including the farmer and his 3 robot daughters, the Luna Park mascot Craterface, and Sheriff Furley, who was first introduced in Silence of the Clamps. Mom ends up interrupting the ruckus to try and bribe the moonfolk into accepting the Momazon warehouse, and this entire scenario feels very reminiscent of Mom's first ever appearance, when when she interrupted the auction to try and outbid Fry for the anchovies back in a fishful of dollars. All this is to say, I appreciate that when they utilize previous characters and locations, they make sure they maintain that attention to detail. I don't know how many fans remember someone like Sheriff Furley, but here he is, back at Aldrin's Gulch, as he should be. He's their sheriff. I also have to say, of these first 5 episodes, this one looks the best for sure. It feels like the animators were really getting their feet back under them, with characters occasionally looking a little bit off model, but this one seems to have mostly found their footing. Plus, it has some incredibly detailed sequences, particularly the Mamazon warehouse. This thing is so dynamic, so many characters, and the widest shots have tons of 3D models for robots and drones that blend in seamlessly. And with so many robots enjoying each other's company, this ties into the ongoing Fry, Leela, Bender conflict, as Bender decides to quit Planet Express and join Mamazon.
There's thousands of robots to hang out with. And if a couple hundred get girlfriends, leaving me alone and devastated, so what?
It really does feel like this episode has pretty much locked in with all its characters, where the first few of the season maybe had some missteps. Bender's jealousy pushing him to betray his friends in a cool warehouse with a ton of other robots? Spot on. But I think my favorite thing about this episode is the time we get to spend with Fry and Leela. Once they get home, they start buying stuff from Mamazon, and we're treated to a fun redecorating montage, kind of reminiscent of Fry and Bender and I Roommate. But man, does it feel good to just spend a chunk of this episode with Fry and Leela doing coupley things. It really has felt like their relationship dynamic has needed to evolve. We got a little taste of the pair of them trying to go on dates and being foiled in Fry and Leela's big fling, but there's no reason why we shouldn't get new types of conflicts that stem from Fry and Leela's relationship, not from the wishy-washy nature of it. And that is pretty much what we see here. They both end up ordering so much conflicting home decor, and that causes them to bicker, and it's played out perfectly in my opinion.
This is just the standard moving in together fight.
Well, I'm glad I get to fight it with you.
I love this. They don't even really have the characters question if they made the wrong call or consider moving into separate places again. It's just a little speed bump in the relationship, and it gives me a lot of confidence in how they'll treat Fry and Leela's relationship moving forward. As far as the remainder of the episode goes, I really enjoyed the sci-fi dilemma. Basically, the Mamazon warehouse is made of self-replicating nanoparticles, so it keeps growing bigger and bigger, forcing Mom and the Planet Express crew to team up. I love a rivalry-turned-reluctant team-up. However, I am losing my mind that Farnsworth and Ignar are standing right next to each other for a lot of this episode, and we still haven't even gotten a single acknowledgement that they're father and son since it was revealed in Bender's game. Like, can we get anything? What was the point in that reveal if it was never going to be of any consequence ever again? God, Bender's game frustrates the hell out of me. I personally loved the resolution to this episode too, and they set it up so well. They failed to get into the warehouse because Mom's invasive AI had locked even her out of it, but the self-replicating particles of the warehouse basically expand beyond the ship and the characters, placing them into the warehouse so that they can then save Bender. And though this made it very clear to me what the ultimate resolution would be, I still loved the execution. Basically, everyone is prepared to die since the sun has been blotted out by the warehouse, when the warehouse ends up expanding beyond the sun.
If these smells are correct, it will soon contain the entire known universe.
Not only did I love this resolution on a sci-fi level, but on a commentary level too. Amazon is fucking everywhere, man. You cannot escape it. Also, this was like the 4th time that Fry and Leela have said goodbye to each other around this part of the Planet Express building. Farewell to Arms and Overclockwise come to mind. Also, damn, Farnsworth was the standout character comedically in this episode.
The amazing Meccano Man? In trouble? To the ship!
I kinda love that even though all of the characters, Farnsworth in particular, were exhausted by Bender's whining, they drop everything to help him. Love a found family trope, baby. And how about this spin on a classic Farnsworth line?
Sweet vampire Moses!
Honestly, I like this variation better than them just repeating the Sweet Zombie Jesus line. Love to see it. So after initially watching this episode, I felt relatively middling about it, but the more I think about it, the more I think they're really finding their groove here. The characters all felt spot on, they moved the relationship dynamics forward in a meaningful way, and built conflict around that shift. I expect some people still might find Mamazon to be too topical, even though I would argue that that's not what topicality means, but they used that storyline in a way that fully fits the evolution of the series, especially the relationship between Planet Express and MomCorp. Next week is I Know What You Did Next Xmas, and I am genuinely so excited to talk about that one. It's the last episode that I saw via screeners, and personally, it's my favorite of the first 6. There's just a ton of fun stuff to get into. Before I go, I also want to once again shout out the writers and actors strikes. Please show your support for the creatives who make shows like this possible. I'll be posting a link in the description for resources that can help support the striking workers. And I still want to hear what you have to say about the latest Futurama episode and the new season in general. general. Where does related to items you viewed rank among the 5 so far? Was the Mamazon stuff once again too topical, or did the quality Fry, Leela, and Bender storyline overshadow that for you? Let me know below in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
I stay mellow watching Johnny two cellos. He talks cartoons, he's a really cool fellow. He keeps you posted on adult cartoons. If that's what you're into, then grab a spoon and a very big bowl of your favorite cereal. Feels like Saturday morning cartoon material. Johnny two cellos, watch him on YouTube. Now enjoy this groove and bust a move.